My sister used my son's hospital stay to move into my apartment. Temporarily, when we got home after 3 weeks, she'd changed the locks. I have kids. I need space. My parents nodded. She has a point. I pulled out the lease, my name, my deposit. My $2,100/month. Called my lawyer from the hallway. My sister had 72 hours. She used 71 of them calling Mom. On hour 72, she called me. I said, "The locksmith is already here." We got discharged on a Tuesday, March 4th. At 2:17 p.m., 3 weeks in a pediatric wing will rewire your brain. You start measuring life in blood pressure readings and nurse shift changes. My son, Tyler, was 7 too thin in his hoodie and holding his beat-up Spider-Man plush like it was a passport. His wristband was still on because he refused to let them cut it off. "Home?" he asked, like he didn't trust the word. "Home," I said. I kept my voice light. I'm a boxing coach. I can teach people to breathe through pain. I still couldn't breathe right. Tyler watched my face like it was the TV. Kids do that after scary stuff. They stop being kids and start being little investigators. We pulled into my apartment complex in Tempe at 306, Unit 2B. Same cracked curb, same sad palm tree. Same blue welcome mat I'd never replaced because it felt like an insult to welcome. Tyler leaned forward in his booster like he could see our door better. "My bed is still there, right?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Your bed is still there." I had my discharge folder, a pharmacy bag, and my keys in my hand. My fingers were stiff from gripping those keys like they were a weapon for 3 weeks. When we walked up the stairs, I noticed something small and wrong. New doorknob. Not shiny new, like maintenance. New like someone went to Home Depot at 9 p.m. and bought a problem solver. I stopped in front of 2B anyway. Muscle memory. I slid my key in. It didn't go. I tried again. Slower, different angle. Like I was the one doing it wrong. Nothing. Tyler's hand tightened around mine. "Dad?" he said. I swallowed. My mouth went dry so fast it felt like my tongue stuck to my teeth. "Okay," I said, calm. "Hold on." I knocked once, twice. Footsteps. Then my sister Megan opened the door like she lived there, like she'd been expecting me. Behind her, I saw my couch. My couch with different pillows, kids' shoes by the wall, a plastic sippy cup on my coffee table, and my son's Spider-Man poster was gone from the hallway. Megan smiled like she was doing me a favor. "Oh, you're back," she said. Tyler stared at her like he didn't know if he was allowed to speak. I said, "Why are there new locks on my door?" Megan didn't blink. She leaned on the frame like she owned it. "I had to," she said. "I have kids. I need space." My brain did that weird counting thing it does when it's trying to stay sane. 3 weeks in a hospital. 1 new lock. 2 kids' backpacks by my kitchen chair. 0 of my things visible. I heard someone behind her. My mom's laugh, like this was a sitcom. "Brian, honey," Mom called from inside my apartment. "Don't make a scene." I stepped forward and Megan lifted her hand, polite, gentle, like a bouncer at a nightclub. "Wait," she said. "We need to talk first." Tyler's voice came out small. "Is that my house?" Megan looked down at him, then back at me. "It's not a big deal," she said, reasonable voice. "We're family." Then my dad appeared behind her shoulder, nodding already like he'd arrived pre-agreed. "She has a point," he said. "Megan's got 2 kids. You were gone." I stared at him. "I was gone because my son was in the hospital," I said. Mom stepped into view holding Tyler's cereal bowl, the blue one with the chipped rim, the bowl that had his name in Sharpie on the bottom, because kindergarten teachers make you label everything. Mom said, "Brian, calm down." We did what we had to do. I felt Tyler press closer to my leg, quiet, watching. Megan said it again, slower, like I was hard of hearing. "I have kids," she said. "I need space." My hands were cold. My chest felt tight. My brain wanted to explode in 10 directions. But I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I said one sentence, low and clean. "Tyler, stay right here by the railing." He nodded, clutching Spider-Man. I turned and walked down the hall, past the laundry room, to the little dead spot where the cell service is weird. And I called my lawyer. "My name's Brian. I'm 34. I coach boxing at a strip mall gym off Baseline, the kind with faded posters and heavy bags that smell like old sweat and promises. I'm not rich. I'm not broke either. I teach kids classes in the afternoons, spar with amateur fighters in the evenings, and I pick up private sessions on weekends. My money is simple. Rent hits, utilities hit, groceries hit. Tyler hits a growth spurt, and suddenly I'm buying shoes every 8 weeks. After Tyler's mom left when he was 3, I learned how to be a one-person team. Preschool pickup, meal prep, insurance paperwork, bedtime stories, and trying not to let my kids see me panic when the car makes a noise. Megan is 31. She's my younger sister. She has 2 kids. Aiden is 9, Sienna is 5. 2 different dads, neither of them consistent. Both of them good guys, according to Megan, which is always how she describes men who don't pay child support. My parents live 15 minutes away in Mesa. They've always had this family language. Be flexible. Don't make a scene. Family helps. Just for now, those are their magic words. They use them like duct tape. And Megan thrives on that. She says something selfish in a soft voice, and my parents rush in to translate it into something noble. This wasn't new. It just finally had a lock on it. Incident 1 was 2 years ago, July 2024. Tyler had a birthday party at a trampoline place. I'd saved for it. Not a big thing. $287.13 on my debit card for the package, plus pizzas, plus goodie bags. Megan showed up an hour late with both kids, and no socks for them. The front desk wouldn't let them jump without socks. Megan looked at me like I'd personally written the rule. Brian, she said, can you just cover it? I'll pay you back. Sure, I said, because kids were watching and I didn't want Tyler's party to become an argument. Socks, snacks, extra wristbands. Another $64.18. She never paid me back. When I brought it up later, Megan hit me with the soft knife. You're really nickel and diming me? She said. I have kids. Mom backed her without even thinking. She's stressed, Mom said. Don't add to it. Incident 2 was October 2024. Tyler got sick, just a bad flu. I had to cancel sessions at the gym for 2 days. That's money I don't get back. Megan called me the second she heard Tyler was home. Perfect, she said. Can you watch Aiden and Sienna while I run errands? Tyler's sick, I said. They can play quietly, she said. You're already home. My dad's voice came in the background on speaker like he'd been sitting there waiting. Help your sister, he said. That's what family does. So I did it. And Megan dropped her kids off with a bag of snacks and a list of allergies she forgot to mention until she was already walking away. Tyler lay on the couch, feverish, listening to Aiden and Sienna run through our place like it was a playground. Tyler's eyes met mine for a second, and he didn't complain. He just got smaller. That was the moment I hated myself a little, because I saw my kid learning a lesson I never wanted him to learn. Being quiet keeps people from getting mad. Incident 3 was January 2025. Megan temporarily moved back in with my parents. Temporarily turned into 4 months. My mom started hinting around March. You have a second bedroom, she said. Casual. It's just sitting there. It wasn't sitting. It was Tyler's room, but Tyler slept in my room sometimes anyway. And my parents used that as evidence that his room was negotiable. Megan came over one night, took a slow look around like she was house hunting, and said, "This would be perfect." I said, "No." And Megan laughed like I'd made a cute joke. My parents did the thing they always do. They didn't argue my no, they just acted like time would erode it. Then Tyler got sick for real. Late February 2026, he started vomiting. Then a fever that wouldn't break. Then he went pale and weirdly calm. By the time we got to the ER, he was dehydrated and they were talking about tests, and we need to admit him. 3 weeks. Procedures. IVs. A specialist consult. Knee sleeping in a chair counting the beeps of machines instead of hours. Megan visited twice. Both times she took pictures of Tyler with the stuffed Spider-Man and posted them on Facebook with captions like, "Praying for my nephew," and "Family first." She didn't bring food. She didn't offer to cover a shift. She didn't ask what I needed. She just said, "Let me know if you need anything," the way people say it when they don't mean it. And I believed, stupidly, that my apartment was still my apartment. I thought this was temporary. It wasn't. In the hallway outside 2B, I called my lawyer, Darren Kim. I'd used him once before for custody paperwork, when Tyler's mom disappeared and then popped back up asking for visitation like it was a subscription. Darren picked up on the second ring. "Brian," he said. "What's going on?" I kept my voice steady because Tyler could probably hear my tone even from the stairs. "My sister changed the locks on my apartment while my kid was hospitalized," I said. "My parents are inside. They're acting like it's normal." There was a beat. "Do you have your lease?" Darren asked. I actually laughed once, sharp. "Yeah," I said. "In my Google Drive. I signed it. I paid the deposit. Rent is $2,100 a month. Auto pay." "Okay," Darren said. "We're going to handle this cleanly. You need documentation. Do not force entry. Do not touch anyone. Do not threaten. You're going to do this the boring way." I said, "I'm already bored." "Good," he said. "Text your sister. Ask for written confirmation that she changed the locks and is refusing access." I looked back up the stairs. Megan was still in the doorway, arms folded, chatting with Mom like they were waiting for me to calm down and apologize. Tyler sat on the step with Spider-Man pressed to his chest. He looked too quiet. I texted Megan. "Me. Did you change the locks on Unit 2B? Yes or no?" She read it immediately. No reply. I texted again. "Me. Are you refusing to let me and Tyler enter our apartment?" She finally replied. "Megan, we're not refusing. We just need to talk first." "Don't be dramatic," I said out loud to nobody. "Receipt." Then I did what Darren told me. I kept asking concrete questions. I walked back up, stopped 3 feet from the door, and said, "Megan, where is Tyler's bed?" Megan blinked. "It's inside. Is his room intact?" I asked. Mom jumped in fast. "Brian, he can sleep in your room," she said. "He's little." Tyler's fingers tightened on the plush. I asked again, "Is his room intact?" Megan got that irritated look she gets when the conversation isn't going her way. "We moved some stuff," she said. "I have kids." "What did you move?" I said. Dad did the sigh. "Brian," he said. "You were gone." "I was in a hospital," I said. "Answer the question." Megan rolled her eyes and said the line my family uses like a shield. "Don't make this a confrontation." I nodded once. "Okay, show me the boxes." Mom's smile got tight. "We put things away," she said. "Where?" I asked. "In the storage closet," she said. "That closet is in my apartment," I said, "that I can't enter, because you changed the locks." Megan lifted her chin. "I didn't change them to be mean. I changed them because I needed security." "From who?" I asked. She stared like I was stupid. "From whatever," she said. "From me," that's what she meant. "From me coming home." Tyler whispered, "Dad, can we just go in?" I crouched beside him. My knees cracked because I haven't been kind to my joints. "Hey," I said, "you did nothing wrong. Okay?" He nodded, but his eyes stayed glued on the door. I stood back up and said, "Megan, open the door." She didn't move. Mom's voice went gentle, poisonous. "Brian, this could be easier if you just let Megan stay for a little," she said. "You can figure something out." "Figure what out?" I asked. Dad nodded toward the parking lot like he was pointing at a solution. "You can stay with us for a bit," he said. Tyler made a small sound. Not a cry, just a noise, like a balloon losing air. I looked at my son, and I saw it. The shrinking, the quiet, the compliance, and something in me hardened. I stopped trying to argue reality with people who rewrite it for sport. I said, "Okay." Megan's shoulders relaxed like she'd won. "See?" she said. "I knew you'd calm down." I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Auto pay confirmation, $2,100 paid February 1st. $2,100 paid March 1st. Deposit paid at move-in, $2,100. Pet deposit, $300. Admin fee, $150. Then I opened my email. Lease PDF, Brian Carter, Unit 2B, term dates, my signature, landlord's signature. I turned my screen toward my dad. "My name," I said. "My deposit. My rent." Dad squinted like the letters might rearrange if he stared long enough. Mom's smile didn't move. "Megan has kids," she repeated, like it was a legal document. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "I'm calling Darren back." Megan's tone sharpened. "You're calling a lawyer? On your sister?" "I'm calling a lawyer about my kids' housing," I said. Then Megan did the private pressure wave right on schedule. She followed me down the hall. "Brian," she hissed, "don't do this. Mom and Dad will be so upset." I said, "That's not my problem." She dropped her voice even more like a secret. "You're really going to throw my kids out?" "I'm going to put my kid back in his bed," I said. "You can call it whatever helps you sleep." That's when I stopped arguing and started documenting. I screenshotted her texts. I recorded a 10-second video of my key not working in the lock with the new doorknob visible. I took a photo of Megan standing in the doorway. Then Darren texted me back. "I'm sending a formal notice. 72 hours. Do not engage." Megan saw me on my phone and her face changed because she understood something my family never expects from me. Follow through. We went to my parents' house that night because Tyler needed a bed and I needed a plan that didn't involve my kid watching adults fight over his life like it was furniture. Tyler fell asleep in my old room at 8:41 p.m. He curled around Spider-Man like it was a seatbelt. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at his hospital wristband in the trash can. I'd thrown it away because I thought we were done with that chapter. Turns out, we weren't. At 9:03 p.m., my mom knocked and came in without waiting, the way she does. She sat like she owned the air. "Brian," she said, "you embarrassed your sister today." I didn't look up from my phone. "I didn't," I said. "Megan embarrassed herself." Mom's voice went soft. "She's struggling," she said. "So was Tyler," I said. Mom did that thing where she pretends she didn't hear the word Tyler. "You could be kind," she said. "You have space." I finally looked at her. "You're talking about my child's room like it's a spare closet," I said. Mom's mouth tightened. "Don't talk to me like that." "Then don't talk about my son like he's a footnote," I said. At 9:18 p.m., Megan started calling. Over and over. I didn't answer. Darren told me not to. At 9:26 p.m., Megan texted me. "Megan. Brian, please. Don't do this. I'll open the door tomorrow. We just need a little time." I replied once. "Me. Everything in writing. Return access tonight. If not, follow the notice." Then I stopped. The next morning, Darren emailed me the notice. Formal, boring, perfect. It stated the facts: unauthorized occupancy, denial of access, demand for immediate surrender of keys, and vacating the premises within 72 hours. I forwarded it to Megan, my parents, and the landlord's office. That last part made my dad lose it. He called me at 11:07 a.m. His voice was loud in my ear. "You involved the landlord?" he snapped. "What is wrong with you?" I stood in my parents' kitchen holding Tyler's medication schedule in my other hand. "What's wrong with me?" I repeated, calm. "You mean besides my kid being in the hospital while my sister stole his room?" "She didn't steal," Dad said. "We agreed. You agreed," I corrected. "I didn't." Dad went quiet for a second, then tried the guilt angle. "You're tearing this family apart," he said. I looked at Tyler at the table eating toast, quiet as a mouse. I said, "No." Megan did. I'm just refusing to hold it together with my spine. Then came wave one harder. Calls, guilt, crying. Megan called Mom. Mom called me. Dad called me. Megan texted me pictures of her kids like they were shields. "Megan, where are we supposed to go? Look at Sienna. She's scared." I didn't respond. Darren told me, "Let them perform. Your job is to stay boring." Wave 2 started on day 2. Practical harm. Megan emailed me from Mom's laptop because Megan didn't have a printer, and my mom always becomes a resource center when Megan needs to look official. The email said, "We have been paying bills and living there, and Brian abandoned the unit." Abandoned. 3 weeks in a hospital. Abandoned. I forwarded it to Darren with one line. "They are lying in writing." Darren replied, "Good." On hour 48, Megan tried to reframe it as help again. She texted, "Megan." We fixed your place up. We cleaned. We organized. We did you a favor. I replied, Me? Return my keys. She replied, Megan, stop threatening me. I didn't reply after that. On hour 60, my mom tried the meeting. Let's all sit down, she said at breakfast like she was suggesting brunch. I said, no. Mom's eyes widened. Excuse me? No meeting, I said. I'm not negotiating my own home. Mom did the wounded voice. Brian, she said, Tyler needs stability. You're creating chaos. I stared at her. Tyler needs his bed, I said. Chaos is you defending Megan while my kid holds his stuffed toy in a hallway. My dad slammed his mug down. You're acting like a stranger, he said. I nodded once. Good. Hour 70 came. Hour 71. Megan still hadn't left. Megan still hadn't returned access. My landlord emailed me directly. We can schedule a locksmith for the legal rekey after the notice expires. Darren said, do it. On hour 72, Saturday at 3:15 p.m., I pulled into the complex with Darren on speaker and Tyler in the back seat. Tyler watched the building like it was a test. Are we going home? He asked. Yes, I said. We are. The locksmith van was already there. White. Plain. A man in a navy polo standing by the stairs with a clipboard. Megan called me at 3:17. The screen showed her name like a dare. I answered because at this point, the conversation wasn't emotional. It was procedural. Brian, she said breathless, please, Mom says you're serious. Are you really doing this? I looked at the locksmith. He nodded politely, like he'd seen every version of family dysfunction. I said, yes. Megan's voice got sharp. You can't just throw us out. I can, I said. It's my lease. You're heartless, she snapped. I have kids. I kept my voice low because Tyler was behind me, and Tyler deserved to hear calm, not rage. Megan, I said, you had 72 hours. She started crying, like a switch. Performance crying, the kind that's meant to summon my mother like a superhero. I'm calling Mom, she sobbed. I know, I said. You've been doing that for 71 of them. She went quiet. Then she tried one last thing, the line she thought would break me. You're going to traumatize the kids, she said. I stared at my own door, my own home, my kid's Spider-Man poster missing. I said, you already did. At 3:23 p.m., Megan called me again. I didn't hesitate this time. She said, Brian, I cut in. One sentence, flat. The locksmith is already here. Megan left at 3:39 p.m., not because she suddenly grew a conscience, because the locksmith was standing there, the property manager was on the phone, and Darren had told me to request a police standby if she refused. Megan opened the door with shaking hands and walked out with garbage bags full of clothes, like she was the victim of a hurricane, not the person who caused it. Mom showed up at 3:41 p.m. Of course she did. She pulled up like she'd been dispatched. She ran up the stairs, eyes wide, voice high. Brian, stop, she said. Please, this is humiliating. I looked at her and said, you can be embarrassed. Tyler can't be homeless. Mom glanced at Tyler like she was remembering he existed. Tyler stood behind me holding Spider-Man, watching everything with that careful face kids get when adults turn into weather. Megan tried to push past me into the apartment to grab a few more things. Darren's voice was in my ear. Don't let her back in, he said. Not without a written list and supervision. So I stepped sideways and blocked the doorway. Megan's eyes flashed. You're really going to act like I'm some criminal? She hissed. I said, you changed the locks on a place you don't pay for. My dad appeared last, because he always comes after Mom tells him the scene is ready. He took one look at the locksmith changing the cylinder and shook his head like I was the problem. This is too far, he said. I didn't argue. I just said, it's done. At 4:02 p.m., the locksmith handed me 2 new keys. Cold metal, simple, real. I walked inside with Tyler first. Not Megan, not my parents. Tyler. The apartment smelled wrong. Different laundry detergent, cheap air freshener, someone else's dinner. Tyler stood in the living room and looked around like he was afraid to touch anything. Then he turned his head toward the hallway. "Where's my room?" he asked. I swallowed hard and led him down the hall. His room was half Megan's kids' room now, different bedding on the bed, toy cars on Tyler's floor, his nightlight unplugged. Tyler didn't cry. He just went very still. And that broke something in me. I took my phone out and started taking pictures. Every corner, every drawer, every missing item. Receipts. Always receipts. Tyler whispered, "Did I do something bad?" I crouched in front of him. "No," I said. "You did nothing wrong." Adults did. That night we slept on the couch because I didn't want Tyler to lie down in a room that felt like an argument. I ordered takeout, $38.40. Chicken teriyaki because it's the one thing he'll eat when he's stressed. At 7:55 p.m., Tyler finally laughed at a stupid YouTube video and it felt like oxygen. The next week was cleanup. I filed a formal complaint with the landlord about unauthorized occupants. I submitted Darren's letter. I replaced Tyler's door sign. I put his Spider-Man poster back up with fresh tape. And I changed every password Megan had ever borrowed. Wi-Fi, streaming, Amazon. All of it. On Tuesday, Megan showed up with a store-bought cake like we were celebrating something. She stood outside the door holding it with both hands, smiling too hard. "I just want to move forward," she said. I didn't open the door. I spoke through it. "Moving forward means you don't come in," I said. Mom called right after. "Brian," she said, voice sweet, "this has gone on long enough." I said, "No." It ended when I got my keys. She tried the last tactic. "So you're cutting off your sister?" she asked. Like I was committing a felony. I said, "I'm cutting off access." "That's not the same thing." There was silence. Then Mom said, "I can't believe you're choosing this." I looked over at Tyler on the rug, building a Lego set, humming to himself like his body finally believed he was safe. And I said, "I'm choosing my kid." That's the boundary. That's the moral. Family isn't the people who demand your space when you're bleeding. Family is the people who protect your child's bed. Megan doesn't have a key. My parents don't get a vote. And if someone tells me again, she has a point, I will say the same thing every time. No.